There's another case of criminal manslaughter. Manslaughter is generally criminal. There is gross negligent manslaughter, often for like a train company or some other organisation. When we're looking at midwives and doctors and hospital staff and people working outside hospital, it's quite rare to see a birth keeper, a doula, charged with manslaughter. That's the case at the moment currently in Canada for a midwife who's deregistered, previously even been jailed, is very careful about their legal aspects. So contrasting the two cases, the one in Vienna of a home birth midwife with very many years experience, they're both similar in those respects. To prove manslaughter, one has to show that there's a duty of care, which there is. Was the duty of care breached? That's up to the prosecution to prove. The main thing depends on, was there extreme recklessness? And did that recklessness, if there was any, cause the harm, cause the death? So extreme recklessness, did it cause the death? That's extremely difficult to prove. So why do we worry about these cases? Sometimes it's just the fear of having a case taken against somebody that even hospital staff and others will be doing preventative, protective care. In a way, you could say that's a good thing, to be preventative and protective. But it becomes so focused on protecting their license, their employment, themselves, than giving the best appropriate care. So fear never works. And if fear is being used by the state, who may never be able to show extreme recklessness caused the death, they may just simply take the case, like they did in Australia against the midwife there was Lisa Barrett. 5-year criminal prosecution came to nothing. And we've seen other cases like in Hungary, quite ridiculous because they didn't allow any defence. So quite often it's taking the case that is a win for the state. They get funded for it. They like to win a case, but even taking a case, it gets good, in their view, good media coverage, promotes the work that they're doing of telling society everything's unsafe, you must come to the state to look after you for birth, for everything. As I was saying, to contrast these cases, in one case, someone is being accused and it's alleged that they did too little too late. To some extent, it's the family's choice who they engage and to determine the capabilities of those birth keepers, midwife, ex-midwife, deregistered or retired midwife, or doula, or whoever else. But it is very hard for families to know the skills of somebody until they are called into question. Now, I question myself as a clinician whether I'm in a hospital or outside a hospital. Is everything okay? Is what I'm doing right? Is there anything else going on? Could I be wrong? Is a very helpful, useful question. So for me, it's never over, not when the birth is over, when the baby's here, even when the placenta's here. The next few hours are crucial. How is a baby? We have an unknown new baby who could have congenital abnormalities, some dysfunction with the heart or something else. And only by witnessing the baby adapting to life by breathing and feeding, which can be a challenge for some babies just naturally, and a big challenge for babies with perhaps a heart abnormality. So it's never over for me for hours, days, weeks. I'm checking in on the family and the baby. How's everything? Is there anything wrong? I'm not always saying is anything wrong or thinking it at the front of my mind. It can even be at the back of my head. Could I do something different? Is there something else going on? And quite often in this work with birth, some of our colleagues will say, oh, everything's fine, relax. Yes, it probably is, but we need to be ready for everything. And that is to resuscitate, to look like a reasonable, not just look like, but to be a reasonable, safe, competent practitioner. And if we are a doula or a traditional midwife or a deregistered midwife or whatever other hat, we still owe a duty of care as one person to another. There is that neighbourhood principle from the case Donahue and Stevenson. Pretty much everyone owes everyone a duty of care, but especially if we are in somebody's home for a home birth, and we take that care very seriously. So one thing is kind of the clinical care and the other is the legal care. Are we, and it's a good question to keep asking ourselves, responsible for everything? Are we responsible for congenital abnormality? Clearly not. And the number one cause of death in these tragic cases is congenital abnormality. So whilst I'm not talking too specifically about each case because I'm not exactly involved in them, it's of interest that they seem to be increasing manslaughter cases against birth workers. So how to protect our practice and how to give the families the best, safe, effective care that we can. And these are subjects I would explore in more videos and some online teaching. I welcome any thoughts, questions, challenges, and comments.